She suffers from such a rare disorder of being unable to just be a human.
I think she's a malignant narcissist who is a truly terrible person.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I just think she's crying for sympathy, playing the victim.
Oh my gosh, I work so hard.
And there's also no sympathy to be granted for this lifestyle that she's chosen to live.
I appreciate what hard work looks like. I like working hard.
Well, according to their tax documents, they work 1 hour a week.
And I love being that busy.
Make it end. Make it end. What is this?
You're never going to convince anyone that you're authentic.
You're
Yeah.
right. You're
Have
right.
fun.
Reality is she's a grifter. Fake it till you make it.
The Brits are onto you. America's onto you. The world at large is onto you.
I'm searching for something to like about her, and it's so hard.
It's too much for me. There's only small doses of that podcast I can consume.
Meghan, how are you?
How are you?
I know you always make it about me.
What? Everything they do seems so manipulative, calculated, PR motivated, money motivated.
Give us like one strip of authenticity.
Okay, let's get into it, because Candace Owens did not hold back. From the jump, she called Meghan Markle out for what she sees as a full-blown performance art piece, not a podcast. According to Candace, Meghan suffers from the rare and chronic condition of being unable to act like a real human being. Harsh? Maybe. But Owens goes in on how Meghan, once again, tried to serve authenticity during her recent appearance on the Jamie Kern Lima show, and flopped. She calls it a PR stunt, dressed up as a soul-bearing moment. No makeup, no script, more like no substance. Candace wasn't the only one who clocked the Duchess. Social media had their pitchforks ready too. People dragged her for those tearful, quivering voice moments that felt more like acting class than emotional honesty. Is Meghan finally showing her real self, or just staging Act 3 of the Meghan show?
Who are you trying to be?
She really wants attention. And so this is really her biggest PR problem, that she thinks she can hire consultants to solve or hire Netflix to solve, but it's not going to work.
Also is pretending that she's crying. Like, we zoomed in just to see. There isn't a tear in sight. Look at this. Where's the tear? She had the hair blown out. It was perfect. I do not believe that she was makeup free there. She didn't have eye makeup on, which is a different thing.
She suffers from such a rare disorder of being unable to just be a human. Do you know what I mean?
Now, let's talk about that no makeup moment. You know the one. Meghan opens the episode by proudly announcing she's makeup free, which, let's be honest, is celebrity code for I only used 3 products instead of 30. And while she's wiping away tears and doing her best vulnerable Duchess voice, the internet is like, girl, your hair is perfectly blown out, your skin's glowing, and we see the mascara. Critics called it a PR glow-up, disguised as rawness. Owens wasn't buying it, and neither were viewers who called her crocodile tears and emotional manipulation. And the cherry on top? Host Jamie Kern Lima acting like Meghan's therapist, hypewoman, and fairy godmother, all rolled into one. The whole thing felt less like a podcast and more like a royal campaign ad. Spoiler, the audience wasn't voting.
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't expecting that one. This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on.
How do you be a mother? Oh, I know. You go crying about how much you love your kids.
But wait, it gets deeper. In what was meant to be a breakthrough moment, Meghan reads an email she says she wrote to her kids. Cue the shaking voice, the dramatic pause, and yep, the laughter through tears. Owens and a bunch of online commentators said what everyone else was thinking. It felt rehearsed. Like the script was written, printed, and practiced 3 times before the cameras even rolled. Even royal insiders are calling it emotionally staged, a desperate attempt to rebrand Meghan as relatable. But as Candace points out, how relatable is a woman who once lived in a literal castle and now complains about the grind of being a working mom? We're talking someone with chefs, nannies, assistants, a Netflix deal, and a $14 million Montecito mansion. You really want us to cry with you about product launches and newsletter edits?
Here she just talks about just what a incredible work ethic she has.
Writing the newsletters and writing the social media captions. What's the photography that we want to do? What do I want to wear for those shoots? And being a mom and a wife and a friend.
Work ethic must just be grueling. Writing social media captions, deciding what she's going to wear. being a mum.
One of the most privileged people on the planet, she still won't talk about how hardworking she is, which includes coming up with Instagram captions. We never hear other real leaders talking about how hard they work. You just see it in their actions. But for Meghan Markle, of course, she's the exception.
Well, according to their tax documents, they work 1 hour a week for a week.
And let's not forget Meghan's laundry list of projects. According to her, she's doing it all: raising kids, running her lifestyle brand, editing podcasts, writing captions, filming for Netflix, and being a supportive wife. It's giving LinkedIn influencer energy. Candace Owens sarcastically applauded her for working so hard, while pointing out that their own foundation reported working about 1 hour per week. Girl, if writing Instagram captions and picking out sweatpants counts as exhausting labor, then we're all CEOs. Owens took that moment to call it what she believes it really is: a long-winded bid for attention and sympathy from a public that's no longer buying what Meghan's selling. This isn't authenticity, she says. It's performance art in Lululemon.
Is a joke, and I'm tired of some of these media outlets continuing to elevate this person.
The podcast host, Jamie Kern Lima, didn't escape the dragging either. Social media said she came off like a robot cheerleader, dishing out cringe-level praise that felt more like a scripted PR push than a real conversation. One commenter said, "It was like watching a helium-filled sorority sister conduct a therapy session." Owens pointed out how Lima mirrored Meghan's tone, emotions, and even her pauses, like it was all choreographed. Viewers joked the two must have been reading the same playbook because even the compliments sounded rehearsed. "You're so pretty." "I'm crying. This is so soul-filling." It felt more like an audition for Oprah's next couch session than a podcast built on real connection.
When she first did her Spotify series, and I think that deal was $25 million, Spotify lived to regret it immediately. It was breathy. It was awful. I listened to one episode. It was just scripted nonsense. It was like, what are you doing? Spotify, I think, ended up canceling the rest of their deal. There was no use. There was no money in it.
The reason it's failing is because it was just a horribly dull show.
Then came the inevitable comparisons to Meghan's failed Spotify venture, Archetypes. Remember that $20 million deal? Yeah, that went south real quick. Owens reminded everyone that despite the hype and high-profile guests like Serena Williams and Mariah Carey, the show flopped. Listeners panned it as preachy and over-rehearsed, the same way they're now reacting to her new podcast appearance. Spotify eventually dropped the Sussexes, and the world moved on. But Meghan didn't. She's now shifting gears with her brand American Riviera Orchard. Oh, and guess what? People are already complaining that products were sold but never delivered. Refunds still pending. So when Meghan cries about her entrepreneurial journey, it's hard to muster sympathy when even the business receipts are messy.
If you don't like her, it's not your fault. It's because she's extremely unlikable, okay? She has the non-it factor. She wants us to believe that she went from being a D-list actress to becoming Martha Stewart in 3 years. Like, this is totally authentic.
Even Meghan's new Netflix show with Love, Meghan couldn't catch a break. Critics, including celebrity chef Jameson Stocks, called it a painful ego trip, filled with slow pacing and fake moments. Stocks even claimed he turned down Netflix's offer to consult because the vibe was so off, and then got a lawyer's letter threatening him after speaking out. He didn't back down, telling the press that Meghan should stick to acting because she can't even act like herself. Ouch, and honestly, the reviews agree. From calling a cake she to whispering "good night, sweetheart" as it went in the oven, critics described it as bizarre, syrupy, and disconnected from reality. One called it a Montecito ego trip not worth taking. And with Rotten Tomatoes giving it an 11% viewer score, the audience isn't lying.
Unable to just be a human. I've never seen this sort of. I've never seen someone that struggles to just give us like one strip of authenticity.
So here's the thing. When Meghan cries on air, it's not the tears that spark backlash. It's what those tears are trying to sell. Vulnerability? Maybe, but viewers think it's all part of a branding strategy. Candace Owens calls it relatability cosplay. The soft lighting, the no makeup claims, the voice cracks, all of it feels pre-planned. And the moment she starts reading those emotional letters to her kids, the internet collectively rolled its eyes. Not because motherhood isn't powerful, but because Meghan's presentation of it felt like Oscar bait. There's a big difference between being real and being on brand, and this entire podcast felt like it was dipped in glossy PR polish and sprinkled with just enough mess to look authentic.
I mean, this is all a stage. This is all just Meghan Markle's stage. We're expected to buy it.
I think I understand why it is she was a D-list actress, because she can't even act like herself.
Let's talk about that infamous line. "I love being that busy." Meghan said it proudly, listing out her schedule full of edits, captions, product planning, and yes, being a friend. Owens and others tore that apart, saying it sounded more like a resume than a reality. And the kicker? Meghan's charitable foundation, according to tax filings, only logs an hour of work a week. So where's all this hustle? Critics argue that instead of inspiring people, Meghan's message backfires. Because if that's her version of being overworked, what does that say about everyday moms juggling jobs, childcare, bills, and a 9-to-5 with no nannies and no Netflix deals? Even Meghan's most loyal fans are starting to admit that something feels off. Reddit threads once filled with support have turned into cautious criticism. They still appreciate the feminist themes and the attempt to shift public narratives, but even they can't deny it all feels a little scripted. The podcast wasn't raw, it wasn't messy, it was tidy, too tidy. Critics say it was so carefully controlled that it lacked any emotional grit. And in an era where audiences crave imperfection and spontaneity, Meghan's polished pain just doesn't hit the same. Owens says it best: "You can't cry your way into relatability when everything about you screams calculated."
You in love now more than ever? More than
Are you in love? How happy and beautiful is your husband?
Meanwhile, Harry pops up in the conversation, but only through Meghan quoting him. She claims he recently told the world how proud he is of everything she's done. Sweet? Sure. But social media quickly clocked that quote as conveniently timed and oddly public. Owens joked that Harry should go find his balls, saying he's become nothing more than a PR puppet in Meghan's royal redemption arc. And honestly, a lot of people agree. The man went from being a wild card prince to the smiling husband of an endlessly misunderstood duchess, who seems to turn every media appearance into another chapter in her diary of self-reinvention.
This makes her look greedy and shallow, and I think she's showing us exactly who she is and what her ultimate objective was all along.
The Guardian, The Times, Variety, big names in media all roasted Meghan's Netflix series, and by extension, her entire media image. One critic called it gormless, another narcissistic, and Variety, they said it best: a syrupy ego trip through Montecito. Even if you like Meghan, the level of praise she demands from her guests and hosts is a little unsettling. It's like they're under contract to love her publicly. Candace Owens didn't mince words. She said Meghan's need for external validation is exhausting to watch, especially when it's framed as empowerment. What empowerment? Viewers see a woman who left the palace but still wants to wear the crown. Only now it's dipped in podcast microphones and influencer lingo.
Simultaneously plays the victim. My castle's too small. Yeah. The queen was mean to me. They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore.
But she said she was in the trenches when she was in the British royal family. Girl, you lived in a castle. Like, you got a princess title.
One of the wildest claims? That Meghan once told people she planned to go after Harry before even meeting him. Whether that's gossip or fact, it's floating around again thanks to this podcast drama. And when she talks about her time in the trenches with the royal family, even former supporters get triggered. Trenches? Girl, you lived in a palace. You had titles, staff, global attention. This wasn't a war zone. It was Windsor Castle. Owens points out the contradiction. Meghan plays victim, then hero, then victim again. It's a loop that makes everything feel hollow. And the podcast only amplified it. Every real moment wrapped in privilege and performance.
You sold inventory that you didn't have on asever.com. People are still waiting for their refunds, when the reality is she's a grifter.
And then came the cherry on top. Meghan's new product line, American Riviera Orchard. What should have been a soft launch turned into another PR disaster. Orders went out. People paid. Products didn't show. Refunds delayed. Owens and others are now calling the brand a grift, accusing Meghan of cashing in on her Duchess title while trying to act like the girl next door. And when you're doing all this with Netflix crews following you around and Jamie Lima gushing over every word, it doesn't exactly scream small business struggle. It screams influencer fantasy cosplay. So where does that leave Meghan Markle now? According to Candace Owens and a growing chunk of the public, squarely in the middle of a self-made mess. Her attempt to pivot from polished princess to relatable business mom has backfired. Instead of coming off authentic, she's being labeled a master manipulator, a PR machine, and even a malignant narcissist. Her shows tank, her podcasts feel fake, and her products spark more refunds than excitement. And yet, she keeps trying. Maybe that's the most relatable part of all, but as Candace Owens puts it, you can't force the world to love you. You have to earn it. And right now, Meghan's still auditioning for a role that nobody's casting.